Hello and welcome to episode 225 of First Geek 411. This week we're taking a look at our 2022 top 5. My name is Cameron. With me as always, from the Great White North, Shanine. How are you doing today?
For better. We are right frigid up here.
Oh no. What is the temperature?
Currently it says it's minus 27. I believe with the wind chill it's closer to like minus 37. You know.
So for those playing along at home that only speak dumb, that's negative 16 Fahrenheit. So
You beat
I
me
am
to it.
I am one of those that does not understand the measurement system that the rest of the world uses. So,
For those of us who are American.
yes. We barely understand our own system, let alone another one.
It's not even the coldest it's supposed to get this week. So that's fun. The temperature without wind chill, I think, is supposed to be minus 37 on Wednesday.
Oh,
Nope.
fun.
You know,
Nope.
so fun.
Do not miss.
Love it.
Nope.
Joining us from,
You can still say it.
say West Coast, Best Coast?
Yes. Still
Emma?
counts.
Okay.
Still counts. Still technically true.
Okay. How are you doing, Emma?
Good. Still on the West Coast, just in a different state. That also happens to have snow right now. Unlike California, I am in Washington.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Surprised we do not have snow where I am, but we're supposed to have a big freeze.
Can't handle it.
Yeah, it did not go well last time. So
No.
But yeah, this week I'm excited. This is always one of my favorite episodes. I like taking a look back at the year. We'll talk a little bit more about how we do these top fives later on. And so before we get into that, as always, listeners, you can find us on our social media as OneGeek411. Join our Discord server or shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You could also watch live on Twitch, 6:45 Mountain Time, be part of the post-show chats, and find the videos over on our YouTube, where you can leave a comment with your top things from 2022, and subscribe. And then you can also check out our Redbubble store and buy some merch. But yeah, with that, let's look back at our last normal Monday show of the year. So not our last recording of the year, but our last Monday. And so let's do our final What Have We Been Up To of 2022. Shanine, why don't you start us off?
All right. My week has largely been a Christmas blur. I don't know what's happening, but there's Christmas things, and we're busy with them. And I also finished reading The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. It was the only upcoming book from this year that I was looking forward to. I've been following her on Twitter since before she had an agent, and it was super exciting to watch her get the book deal for this book that she'd been talking about for so long. And then I finally got to read it, and it was amazing. And
okay, this is going one of two ways.
Yeah, I was like, and?
It was so good.
The book.
It was so good. It was so good. It was a little bit spooky, which I enjoyed.
What's the elevator pitch for it?
The elevator pitch is Delaney is deaf and has started going to this school, this university that it's a strange program, but she got placed there, and they're kind of into magic-y stuff, and she can hear these whispers in the dark, and she kind of has to figure out what's going on with all that. And then also there is this mysterious boy that is causing problems.
What is this called?
The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew.
I could have just looked at the.
I'll say
So
it
you
again
were just
for the
setting
listeners
Shanine
as
back
well.
up to say the name again for other listeners. So
There you go.
But yes,
I am
5 stars.
intrigued.
10 out of 10 recommend.
Emma, what have you been up to?
I am officially on break.
Woo.
Yay, we love that. I've been doing a lot of sleeping, a lot of puzzling. Been working on a Harry Potter puzzle that I technically started last year, and then it sat underneath the bed for a whole year. And I'm almost done with it, and it's coming along great. And I'm visiting friends here back at home where I grew up. So I just saw a high school friend, and I'm gonna see more tomorrow and Wednesday, and that's a lot of fun. And I've been watching the latest season of Dimension 20 with one of those high school friends, and it is fantastic, and I'm enjoying it so much. And all of the dark fairy tale, spooky horror stuff is so great, and such a fun take on like common fairy tales. So I'm enjoying it very much and can't wait for more. So that's been this week.
Yep. Yeah, I was talking about Dimension 20 before as we're like getting ready to go live. And I feel like it's one of those shows that I've seen so many clips of, but I've never actually watched.
Yeah.
And so
It's
I just
great.
subscribed, so hopefully I'll catch some of their stuff.
It is worth your time.
For me, a couple things. On Saturday, we went and saw Avatar 2, The Way of Water. It was wet. There were blue people. Overall, I liked it more than the original. And I feel like it had a more compelling plot. We'll say it that way. And I definitely like where they seem to be going with the characters. There was a lot less of the like face palm unobtainium kind of thing. There was still a little bit of it, but there was less of it. So that was good. Effects were great. Like I said, overall, I really enjoyed the story. I'm trying to think what else I can say without being too like spoilery. But yeah, definitely recommend seeing it in theaters. Like the effects are crazy cool to see on the big screen, and so that definitely seems like the best way to take that in, unless you're one of those people that just have a giant TV or projector at home. And so definitely recommend that like viewing experience for it.
I wish, but one day.
One day.
One day, I will have my own home theater.
Yeah, that's the dream. For something that I just started actually today, I started watching Welcome to Wrexham, which is on Hulu. And Shanine, you may have mentioned this on a previous podcast or post-show. Okay. Someone mentioned this to me. And so I thought it was through, I just Googled for the word welcome, which obviously isn't going to get me to it. I want to get the people's names. So it's about Rob McElhenney, who's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Ryan Reynolds, who buy what's essentially like a D-League professional soccer team in Wales. And it's like a documentary about them trying to get the team like promoted up into the next ranks and into like eventually trying to get it to be like a Premier League. And so they're like the actual like co-owners of it. And then it's about basically them like managing this club.
Ryan talks about this actual experience on his Instagram.
Yeah.
Frequently. It's quite fun.
So it's pretty interesting. I've been enjoying it so far. I think I'm only on like episode 3. It looks like there's 18 episodes on Hulu, I believe is where I'm watching. Yeah. And so definitely recommend checking it out. I was a little hesitant since I'm not a huge like sports fan.
Person.
Yeah. I do not care much about the goal unit baskets. But it was pretty cool seeing them try to like, they're definitely coming in as the like outsiders, as an American and a Canadian buying a Welsh soccer team or football club. And so it's kind of interesting seeing that happen, as well as like kind of how the town is dealing with it as well and stuff like that. And so it's been pretty cool so far. Like I said, I'm only like 3 episodes in, but definitely recommend. And then other than that, been playing games still playing a lot of Pokemon. Most mornings on twitch.tv/Cameron plus Deanna. And then my off-stream game has been Marvel Midnight Suns, which I talked about last week as like the dream game targeted at me. That like, I just feel like I was the focus group for this. And the more and more I've played of it, the more and more that's become true. I might have mentioned this last week. My only complaint story-wise is that a lot of these characters seem like the safe, like normal versions of them. And I kind of hope we get to grow out of that some. Like for example, I'm going to just pick on Spider-Man because he's easy to pick on. Of like this version of Spider-Man, I cannot see like really standing out. Like especially compared to like Marvel's Spider-Man. Just in the sense that this one just kind of feels like the safe version. He's been through some stuff. They make some really fun references in this, like to characters that aren't in the game or aren't like in the cast, but are in the world still. And so like, that's really cool. But like, again, a lot of these versions just seem like I'm Spider-Man. I was from New York. I've fought some people. Venom doesn't like me. And I'm kind of hoping that gets a little deeper for some of the characters at least.
So it's not just the basic, like, the basic package.
Exactly. And it's hard to make all the characters come across as original when you're doing like a cast of like 12 characters, of course. I really like what they've done with the Hunter, who's like your create a character protagonist. And so like, that's pretty cool. And I'm hoping that we get to see the Hunter show up in something else. I know there have been rumors of like a Midnight Suns MCU project. That would be really cool. And obviously we know Phase 5 at this point, so that wouldn't be for a hot minute for them to do something like that. But doing like a movie focused on the more supernatural side of the MCU like that, with like a collection of characters rather than just Doctor Strange, would be kind of cool. But yeah, still enjoying that a lot. There's a lot of game there. And so I feel like this is going to be one of the ones that is just going to kind of ride for a long time. But yeah, that is what I have been up to. Listeners, watchers, let us know what you have been up to this week. But yeah, let's jump into our 2022 top 5. So for newer viewers, watchers, listeners, this is something that we do every year. And we go and take a look at 5 things that stood out to us from this year. Technically, these things do not have to have happened or like come out this year. These could be things that we experienced this year, or could be things completely unrelated that just kind of we connected with this year. There's no rules.
One rule.
Yeah, is that there's no rules.
No
But I was looking at our notes, and apparently it was the 3 of us last year for our 2021 top 5. Chris also couldn't be there for that one. So
Chris,
are you?
miss you.
Yes, Chris, please come back to us soon.
I
So
say that frequently.
are y'all ready for what we talked about in our 2021 top 5?
Yes.
Curious.
Okay. So starting with Emma, starting grad school, Disneyland. I'm going to read this exactly. all the Horizon Zero Dawn 2 / Horizon Forbidden West content, reading The Witcher, and the Wheel of Time show.
Like half of the things on my list this year are the
You know,
same things.
You know, you have a type, and it's the same. Like, nothing wrong with that. Shanine, you had Being Published and Thy Geekdom Come To, Exandria Unlimited, and CR3 and RPGs. Marvel's Spider-Man, Marvel, Spider-Man No Way Home and WandaVision. Haunting of Hill House, book and TV. And horror, just all horror, was your top 5 from last year. And then Attack on Titan. And then for me, I had God of War 2018 and Control. I had, in general, the MCU returning. Since that was the first year we were getting like real projects again. Reading books for book club. I am sure I caveated that a whole lot in the recording from last year. But in general, reading for book club.
Ready Player 2. Best book club episode. Ready Player 2.
Yeah. Then I had Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, and Star Wars Visions. So that was all of our 2021 top 5 things. So as we get going, as always, we'll kind of jump around between people. We'll cycle through. If there's the person before you had something that kind of connects to something that you have, feel free to tie that in or don't. Hard juke. I'm not your dad. Do whatever you want. And so that's going to kind of be our pattern as we go through. Then we'll just go through all of our top 5 things. Some of our top 5 things are more than one. And so I say that because that's one of mine. We have bullet points, or we have like sub points basically. And so, with that, Shanine, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Probably, like, these are in no order, but probably still my number one thing from the year is The Sandman. Getting the TV show was so exciting and so nerve-wracking, and then we got to watch it, and it was, like, beyond everything I could have hoped for.
So
the cast was, like, perfect. Like, they could not have gotten a more perfect cast to embody those characters. It looked so pretty all of the time. It was so good. It was so good. It made me cry. It was good.
Emma, well, we can also just use this as a segue to one of your top 5.
One of my top 5 was also The Sandman, because for very similar reasons. Also because I got the first volume of like the complete set and gushed over it so much before the TV show came out that I was literally putting sticky notes in my copy, and I could go through while I was watching the show, and I was like, hey, that's an exact panel that I tagged in my book because it was pretty. And I was just gushing over a lot of that because I also like loved it so much, and it was fabulous, and they did such a good job. And Neil Gaiman, I love Neil Gaiman. It just cemented my love for him as an author so much more. So yeah.
I think it's really cool to see what they were able to pull off with that. I still have not read the graphic novel. It's on my list to pick up some of them and take a look. And yeah, I was someone that really us reading for a book club was really my first like real introduction to Neil Gaiman when we read Neverwhere. I'd seen Bad Omens, Good Omens.
Good Omens.
Good Omens.
Which is
I'd
my
seen,
favorite book of all time.
yeah, I'd seen that, but that wasn't like, I wasn't like, Neil Gaiman. Like, I don't think I could have like told you his name necessarily before we really dove into book club. But yeah, so like for me coming in as an outsider, it was really cool to hear y'all talk about it as people that had like been in it ahead of time, and kind of relay that. Also, shout out to them for just like the juke that they did with their final episode, where it's just like suddenly it's animated.
Surprise.
Sure. I thought that was super fun. But yeah. And then, do we have confirmation of season 2 dates or anything? No. Okay.
It hasn't even been confirmed as season 2. It's more episodes,
Oh, okay.
but it better be a season 2.
But it better
I
be.
just Googled it. Netflix has confirmed that the show is renewed for a second season. This was November 27th.
Okay.
So it's officially a second season.
So something's happening.
Yes.
Perfect. So for me, for my first one, I am going to pick Miss Marvel. And so overall, I feel like I'm just kind of one of the odd people out this year with the MCU. I really liked the lighter tones of a lot of the projects that we had, specifically Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. And I am very excited to like kind of with all the stuff around Miss Marvel, like joining MCU, getting to be in the big screen for the Marvels. I'm very excited for like getting to see like what's really one of the modern characters that I'm going to say matters most. That sound, I don't know how the best way to say that, but like matters the most to many people. Maybe that's a better way. Like, I feel like she is like one of those characters that so many people have connected with. And we really still like only have one version of them versus like there's all the different takes on Spider-Man or all the different takes on Tony Stark, things like that. But there really is just one Kamala Khan. Like, she hasn't been around that long as a character. And so I'm just very excited that we got to see that brought to the big or to the small screen. She's coming to the big screen. And I'm also like that was one of the projects I was most nervous about going into this year, especially with her power change, with them adjusting, like giving her like energy based powers rather than her having the shape shifting things. But yeah, I think that was pulled off pretty well. I feel like they executed it better than it had looked in the original posters and stuff. And so I was very happy with that one. Shanine, what's your number 2?
All right. And this is where this year's list starts to sound like last year's list. But basically, all of Critical Role, Campaign 3 has been amazing, but specifically EXU Calamity. I was so obsessed, and like this 4-episode short campaign ripped out my heart so exquisitely. I've never enjoyed being in pain quite so much. It's so good. It's just so good. If you haven't watched it, you should.
I am trying my hardest to finish C2, Campaign 2, before I go jump into the side adventures like that. But I'm pushing through so that I can watch it as soon as possible.
So worth it. I loved getting to see another DM in the Critical Role universe. So we got to see Abria, 2 summers ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to see Brennan Lee Mulligan with this Calamity campaign. And man, I love seeing different DM styles and how they're all so different, but they're all so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like encouraging to be like, oh, I don't have to be a Matt Mercer to be a DM. Like, everyone has their own flavor, and it's all good. And Brennan's flavor apparently is pain.
There are several things I could say there, but I am not. For very specific reasons.
Emma, what is your number 2?
My number 2, surprise to myself a year ago, is Horizon Forbidden West. When it finally came out, and it was as enjoyable, if not more enjoyable, than the content that we were getting this time last year. I loved it so much. Had a lot of fun with it. And it was my top game of the year through PlayStation. PlayStation did their own, like, wrapped year in review thing. And of course, I spent the most time playing Horizon Forbidden West, to no one's surprise. Absolutely loved it. I had a blast fighting giant robot dinosaurs, and I'm going to spend even more time fighting giant robot dinosaurs in the years to come because I love it. And yeah, that is one of my most exciting things of this last year because it is one of my favorite games.
I'm making a last minute edit to mine.
Cameron, what about you?
And so Shanine talking reminded me, and this is something I had forgotten was this year. But my big actual play that I follow is the Glass Cannon, which they do primarily Pathfinder, but they have some other shows as well. And so this year they wrapped their like 6-year campaign through Giant Slayer. It took them 326 episodes.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that like is a crazy feat. I mean, obviously just to have that many episodes of a show, but like to have a coherent story that like connects all of those, and like they were able to like have their really good conclusion to that story, to the characters that they developed. And I thought it was really a very cool wrap to that. And then now they've been going in and doing like Spooky, which has also been like, not necessarily my normal cup of tea, but has been very good, as they've been doing Strange Aeons, which is the Pathfinder's version of like Lovecraft. And so that's something that has been very cool. It used to be their like live show, and then now they're just doing it as their regular show. And if they happen to be able to do one live with how it works in the schedule, then the live episode will be that week's episode. Like in terms of like in front of an audience live. And so it's been really cool to see them pivot. And there was also just kind of like a big dump because they basically put all of the live shows out on their podcast feed. And so it was like one a day for like 4 weeks or like 6 weeks or something as they were catching up. And so there was just a whole bunch of Pathfinder for all of that. And so yeah, shout out to all of them. And it's been very cool kind of getting to see where that show has gone over this year. Shanine, what's your number 3?
All right. All of the horror things, apparently, again.
Yes.
If you've been following along at all, you know that I watched all of the Halloween movies this year.
All 13 of them.
All All of them.
except for the first one, which I watched last year.
Hmm.
But all the rest of them I watched. That was a roller coaster of a franchise, but overall I liked it. And yeah, it was fun getting to talk about the whole franchise on the What the Fun podcast as well. Also found out that I am super into everything Mike Flanagan does, and Midnight Mass was another one of my just absolute favorite shows from the year. It did not come out this year, but I finally watched it and I was like, what took me so long? This was incredible. It's so good.
I have heard of great things.
I feel like if you know what's going on, it's not that scary.
That's exactly what you would say if it was really scary, Shanine.
It was less scary than The Haunting of Hill
interesting.
House.
Midnight Mass, more than anything, was just. It was, at least to me, it was more like a dark mystery
Yeah.
rather than like horror.
There was like an occasional jump scare, but
Yeah.
not anything compared to like The Haunting of
Because, like, what did the priest, sketchy. You can tell early on that there's something going on with him that's a bit sketchy.
Oh yeah.
And then it's
100%.
just a matter of, like, there's something going on with him. It's just a matter of, like, figuring out what. And it's not so much the what in the sense of, like, oh, he's a monster, he's gonna kill you. Which he gives off that vibe a little bit, but more so in the sense of, like, what has he done and why has he done it? Dun dun dun!
I was pretty close to calling it right from the beginning. Not 100% bang on, but like close in the vicinity of what it was. I was pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
Such a good show.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And like a good horror show, but also just like a great examination of faith and religion. Like, so good.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2023, I will.
Cameron will change his tune a little bit.
Yeah, maybe
Cameron's
I'll watch
just
it.
like, no.
Or get up some courage.
I mean, the things that y'all are saying sound interesting, but like, it still has the spooks.
To be fair, Cameron, the first horror anything I ever watched was the first/new adaptation of It. And now in theaters on a big screen. And it was horrifying for an introduction to horror. And I immediately went home and locked my windows.
I've not seen it, but I have heard even from people who that was not their introduction to horror. It was a big nope.
It was, oh my gosh. I did not sleep well that night.
Yeah, that's on the list of things that I have no plan to ever watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clowns,
y'all
man.
do you there.
There's a reason we hate them so much.
I might do Midnight Mass, but yeah, that one's just right out.
Yeah.
Emma, what is your number 3?
Number 3. Another similarity to last year. I went to Disneyland again, just for a day. At the end of the semester last year. You can tell I'm still functioning in school years rather than regular years. At the end of the spring semester, with a group of friends, and it was a lot of fun, and it was great to go back a second time in a not downpour and be able to do it with friends, and it was a lot of fun and very enjoyable to go a second time, and it's nice to live close to Disney. And it was a lot of fun and enjoyed it, and probably won't be doing it again anytime soon because it's pricey, but it's fun to have the experience with friends.
Speaking of being close to Disney, guess who isn't? This guy.
You...
But that did not stop us from going twice this year, and that's my number 3 as well.
Nice.
We went specifically to World, but we went back into February, and then went again in September, and then did a Disney cruise. And so
Disney.
it was super fun doing all of that and getting to go back and kind of experience the parks at 2 radically different times of year. Where like when we went in February, it was like around Mardi Gras. And so a bunch of the like states in that area were out of school. And so the parks were just like absolutely packed. But then when we went back in the fall, it was the weekend before Labor Day or weekend before Labor Day weekend. And so there was just like no one there. And so it was just kind of wild how different of an experience that was. Like we did more the morning of one of the days in September than we were able to do the whole day the previous trip. And then getting to go on the Disney cruise itself, of course, was awesome. Kind of getting to experience the ship. We were only on there, I think it was a 3-day, 2-night. That sounds right. Maybe it was a 3-night. 4-day, yeah, something like that. Regardless, but we got to go kind of just spend some time there. Loved the restaurants. I mean, I'm a sucker for put good food in front of me. Also a big fan of it all being like paid for ahead of time. So it's like, hey, you want 3 desserts? You order 3 desserts. Like you want 2 appetizers instead of an entree? You order 3 appetizers instead of your entree. Like just live your best life there. And like that was just super cool. And then like overall, just like, I mean, it's kind of the Disney thing, but the theming is just so on point with everything that they do. Kind of just getting to see the like, yes, we have to do a nice sit down restaurant, but instead of just having it themed as a nice restaurant, it's all about the history of animation at Disney and things like that.
Love that.
And getting to kind of see them take that approach and bring things in. Was definitely a ton of fun and definitely recommend. Also the new Guardians ride, super cool.
Is that
Definitely.
I don't know if it's the same as Land, but the Guardians ride at Land is Tower of Terror.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know if it's the same in World.
at World they actually built a coaster.
Okay. Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, the idea is it's in Epcot. And so the idea is that the race that the Nova Corps is from, they are visiting and have set up a booth at Epcot, just as like you would go to the French Pavilion or whatever. And so that's kind of the theme around it. And it's like them demonstrating their technology to us. Is kind of the overall theme. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. You get to rock out on the roller coaster, which was a lot of fun. We managed to ride it 3 times in 2 days. So
Nice.
def recommend. Yeah.
I'm a sucker for good roller coasters.
Me too.
I love roller coasters so much.
Yeah. Me too. I also am a sucker for not having to wait in line for them.
Yeah.
Like since they're doing like we did like Genie Plus, but you can also do like the virtual queue, which like even if you're there the whole day, like you can get in, queue for it, and then you just get to walk around the park until it's your time slot. Mm-hmm. So like get to go do other things versus spending like 2 hours in line or something.
In line, yeah.
Yeah, because that's like what happened to us when we went in February. We also went to Universal, but that's kind of what happened to us with a bunch of the rides. Is it's like, well, we wanted to ride the Velocicoaster, but that means you're
That is
standing in
lame.
line. Like,
That is fantastic.
yeah. So I also recommend that. We had a lot of fun at Universal, but yeah, there
Rightly
you're
so.
you're more stuck in lines. So, but yeah, Disney. Turns out
Disney.
it's pretty cool. So, Shanine, back to you with number 4.
Not Disney, because I am even less close than all of y'all.
Yeah, you are the farthest away. Yeah.
If you want to come visit, I've got a place that you can stay for free.
Deal. Just as exciting, I discovered a new favorite author this year.
Yay!
Yay! I don't know how it's taken me this long to read anything by V.E. Schwab, but I finally read Vicious and the sequel, whose name I'm totally blanking on right now, but so good. Her writing style is like everything I dream of. It's so good, and I just want to read everything by her now, and it's just great.
Okay. I know you're not supposed to judge books by their cover, but
It's
if people really meant that, they would not make cool covers. I'm trying to get to a shot so I can put this on the background. So this is the cover for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
LaRue, I think.
Okay.
I haven't read it.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay, let me open image.
Whoa.
But like this cover is like, oh, it's really small. This cover is like super cool.
That is a cool cover.
The one for Vicious.
Oh, let me get the. Yeah, the Vicious cover is also very cool. Let me get there. But what's this book about? Like, what's the?
All right, so it's about two. The sequel is Vengeful. I had to look that up because it was going to bug me. It's these two superpowered individuals who were roommates in college.
They were roommates.
And they are now
roommates.
They are now arch nemesis and just out to get each other. It's so good. They have very different philosophies about the use of superpowers and the existence of superpowered beings. Yeah.
Is one of them all about using their powers to protect the world, even though the world hates and fears them? And then the other one is all about...
They are both villains. So...
I mean...
neither of their philosophies are necessarily ones that you can agree with, but one of them is definitely more actively villainous than the other.
Okay. Also, sidebar, I would make the argument that Charles Xavier is a villain, but that's a conversation for another time.
I mean,
so
you can easily get to that. Like, I can see how you can get there. You're not entirely wrong.
Yeah. And again, I don't know anything other than the fact that these have cool covers, but Shanine, if these make our way onto our 2023 book club list, so be it. So.
Something by her, at least.
Yeah. Emma, what is your number 4?
Let's see. Let's do the film project that I worked on last semester, spring semester. Um, it was a documentary, a short film documentary. I did sound for it, and it was a great project to work on. Technically a school project, but also like a proper project, and it just won a student award from the Directors Guild of America, which is
Congratulations.
great, and it was a lot of fun to work on it, and it's great to see it getting like into festivals and recognition and stuff because it's a great project, and um, it was a lot of fun to work on, and that was a big highlight of the year was just getting to work on a bigger project with a great team of people and to see the fruits of our labor. So, yeah, that was another big highlight from this year.
For me, over in the world of Magic the Gathering, there are two specific sets. They kind of set the tone for the year, which again, I feel like some people may not have liked. I really enjoyed. And these were the departure, are kind of kicking off some of the departure from the traditional high fantasy that Magic the Gathering is associated with. And so that was the sets of Neon Kamigawa, or Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and then Streets of New Capenna. So Neon Dynasty is set on Kamigawa, which is inspired by Japanese folklore and mythology. The previous Kamigawa set was set about 1,000 years before the current story. And so this one is set in the modern time. And so it's very like anime inspired. It's cyberpunky. You have mechs and robots. Like there's a lot of like that kind of stuff, which some people didn't like. I thought was really cool. And then the other one, Streets of New Capenna, was based on like 1920s New York. And so it's all like gangsters, mafia, like that kind of vibe. All of like the main 5 characters on the world itself are all demons. And so it's kind of interesting. They're like the family leaders. And so it was a very cool set. Again, very different from what we're used to in Magic. But I really enjoyed that distinction. And then kind of something that I experienced, not directly, but I'm happy connected with other people, including Shanine, was like the introduction of like the Warhammer decks and bringing that into the Magic world. And again, I actually haven't played with any of them, but just kind of getting to see how the community as a whole reacted to those and the general like enjoyment from people that either don't know Magic but have now gotten to experience the game, or the people that like were familiar and are getting to see their favorite faction represented in a different light. I just know a lot of people seemed very happy in general with how that was handled. And so I definitely makes me look forward to stuff in the future that's a bit more in my fandom, with stuff like Doctor Who and stuff like that, with whatever it is that we get for that. Although then again, apparently Henry Cavill's in charge of a Warhammer 40K universe now, so I guess I'm a Warhammer fan.
Man,
So,
that has
you know, they got me.
around Henry Cavill in the past month alone has
It's been crazy
insane.
for him. Yeah.
I'm leaving The Witcher. I'm Superman. I'm no longer Superman.
I'm not Superman.
Warhammer.
Yeah, I am now the Feige and probably lead actor of a Warhammer series. So, so all of those, again, one of the things that I've always loved about Magic is how amazing like the art and characters and world building is. And so getting to see all of those take on a different tone and different setting, I really enjoy. And so I think that's why like those 3 projects kind of all stood out to me, because they're radically different. Like Cyberpunk Ninjas is very different than Warhammer. And I'm kind of glad that like in this year we got to see Magic be all of those things instead of like sticking to its more traditional roots, which feels funny to say as the current set is based on like the oldest or one of the oldest stories, and it's, you know, about giant mechs and people fighting. So like, you know, maybe the giant mechs have been here the whole time, but you know. But yeah, that is
The greatest
my
treasure was the
number
friends
4.
we made along
Yes,
the way.
the greatest treasure was the giant mechs that we built along the way to battle our brother because we're angry that they got half the stone that we got the other half, and now we can't come to a reasonable agreement, and so we have to literally destroy the plane that we exist on and start a literal nuclear winter in order to settle our differences. So
You know.
magic. And
Any
that's
treasure anyone else would want.
right, and that's the good guy. Here we are.
Here we are.
We'll talk more about that in post show. But yeah, and that's gonna bring us into our number 5. Shanine, what is your number 5 for this year?
My number 5 is I won Nano again.
Yay!
It's even more exciting because this time, not only did I manage to write 50,000 words, it is a story that I actually want to continue working on.
Ooh, even better. We love it when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe we'll see an actual completed project out of this next year.
Yeah.
Woo!
Maybe you will be the book club that we read.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm so down for that, actually.
It'd be a conflict of interest when you ask, would you read more from this author?
Yes.
It's like, there's a correct answer. Congratulations. What is your story about?
It is a superhero drama.
I love it.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. I hope to get to read it someday. I was very excited when you told me about the theme, and I was like, this is what the world needs. By the world,
Absolutely.
I mean Cameron. So, Emma, what is your number 1? Or number 5? I keep on forgetting if we're counting up or counting down, you know?
Who knows? But the order I'm going in is in no particular order.
Right.
So,
Remember, there are no rules, so.
there are no rules. The last thing from this last year, and one of the biggest things, I have been really into Critical Role this year. I discovered it / got into it just around this time last year, and I got through all of Campaign 1 and finished it, and am now a decent way into Campaign 2, along with watching Campaign 3 as it happens, and it has been my big love this year. I haven't watched much of anything else on the side except for that. That's playing in the background every time I'm doing puzzles or anything else, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's been my newest love this year, and just getting to play / jump more into D&D. So that's been the other highlight, or last highlight, is just exploring more of that and getting more into that universe.
And then for me, my last one, I know I've said this throughout the year. I probably said this in our 2021 top 5, but 2021 was an awful year for games for me. There just like wasn't much that I was into. That's why like the 2 games that I mentioned, being Control and God of War 2018, were like older releases that I finally went back to play last year. And this year was the exact opposite. And so it was such a good year in terms of games that I was interested in. I know one of the things that I've said throughout the year is I was more hyped for like February of this year than I was for all of 2021 combined. But from all of the games like Elden Ring, the PlayStation exclusives like God of War, Horizon, Stray, I also went back and played Returnal this year. Then stuff like the new Pokemon, both new Pokemons. Should they release 2 in the same year or 3 sets of games in the same year? Probably not, but here we are. This is the future that we live in. And so also going and playing Celeste, which is probably like one of my top games of all time, having gone through that this year. It was such a good year. And then hitting the last like 6-8 weeks of the year has also been crazy with things like Sonic, God of War Ragnarok, Pokemon Violet, and Marvel Midnight Suns, like all coming out in very quick succession. It has been a fabulous end of the year, just like in terms of games that I'm interested in. Very excited for what all of this could mean for next year, just in terms of more stuff coming out. I put together the list, and I think there's 9 games that I'm very excited about that have confirmed release dates, air quotes confirmed, release dates before June of next year.
Yeah.
And so, and that doesn't include things like Marvel Spider-Man that is like out there somewhere for 2023. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that like, I feel like, I think this happens in all hobbies, but like where you have like the ebbs and flows, and some years you're way more into what's going on than other years you're out of it. And this, again, it's been really great for me to kind of have the year where I'm flowing back in terms of being excited for all of these releases. So I'm hoping for more in 2023 with that. Yeah. It's also crazy having so many different experiences, but I could probably go on for this for quite a while. So we'll call it there on this, but just, yeah, so many different things. But yeah, so that is going to wrap our 2022 top 5. Again, listeners, watchers, let us know whatever it is that you have really enjoyed from this past year. Again, whether it's something that's existed for a while, or something that you've done before that you returned to, or something that you discovered this year. You can do that in the comment sections. Do that over on our Discord as well. But before we get into our full outro, as I said at the top of the show, we have one more recording for 2022. That is this Thursday, 6:45 Mountain Time. Our December book club. We are reading Snow Glass Apples by Neil Gaiman and Colleen Doran. And so we'll be back for that, our 12th book club, because I don't think we've missed a month, our 12th book club of the year. And we'll also be wrapping our 2022 programming after that, as we're going to take a break for at least a week, probably 2 weeks, and then coming back in 2023. And so hope people can be back for that. I still haven't started, but as Emma said last week, it's like a 30-minute read. So I've been procrastinating it more because Emma said that. So here we are.
You can literally read the whole thing in one sitting and be totally fine.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, with that, if you have any cool authors that Shanine needs to read so that then she can bring them to us for our book club as potential books, or if you just like to chat, like I said, you can do that over in our Discord. Link is in the description down below. You can also find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as OneGeek411. Send us an email at 1st@geek411@gmail.com. Check out our Redbubble store. Watch live on Twitch, 6:45 Mountain Time, Mondays, and then check out the videos over on our YouTube. And then, if you want, you can find us also on our personal social media. Mine is Humar Whittle.
Mine is I am not prepared with an I.
I'm the Hoot and Howl on Twitter and Hoot and Howl Tales, TALES, on Instagram.
And it's been a great year.
Do a puzzle.
Read a book.
I love you.